Welcome to History Briefing. The content of the briefing includes Frank Borman, astronaut who led first orbit of the moon, dies at 95. Telling India's history through comics. Scientists create chimeric monkey with 2 sets of DNA. Gary Winnick, who won and lost with Global Crossing, dies at 76. Podcast, Israel-Hamas conflict bleeds into France, bikers against bullying. Frank Borman, astronaut who led first orbit of the moon, dies at 95. New York Times. Frank Borman, who commanded NASA's Apollo 8 mission, died on Tuesday at the age of 95. Borman's crew on Apollo 8 became the first people to orbit the moon, and he captured the famous photograph Earthrise. After completing his time in space, Borman became chairman of Eastern Airlines and oversaw its return to profitability. However, competition from low-cost carriers and his decision to invest in a modernized fleet led to the company's bankruptcy and cessation of operations in 1991. Borman is survived by his 2 sons, Frederick and Edwin. Telling India's history through comics. Nikkei Asia. Indian comic book publisher Amar Chitra Katha, ACK, has achieved a publishing milestone by selling more than 86 million copies across its 440 titles. Launched in 1970, ACK specializes in translating traditional Indian folk tales and Hindu myths into comic book format. The company's comics have been a staple of Indian childhoods, providing religious, historical and moral education to generations. ACK comics are now also available in 25 languages, and around 30% of its subscribers are from outside India. Sales have surged during the pandemic, with 500,000 new customers signing up for digital subscriptions. ACK has responded by focusing on digital-first formats, including apps, augmented reality, audiobooks, and animation. The company's sales are growing at a rate of 40% annually, and it has 2.5 million subscribers worldwide. ACK recently became the first Indian comic book publisher to exhibit at San Diego Comic-Con, where it received an enthusiastic response. It has also partnered with Mumbai content creation studio Applause Entertainment to develop films, TV dramas, documentaries and cartoons based on its comic books. Scientists create chimeric monkey with 2 sets of DNA. Yahoo! Chinese scientists have created a monkey chimera with 2 sets of DNA, according to a study published in scientific journal Cell. The researchers say that the monkey's high proportion of stem cells to normal cells could be valuable in the study of neurodegenerative diseases. They also believe that monkey chimeras have potential for use in the conservation of endangered species, as they could be produced by breeding. Monkey chimeras are also seen as a useful alternative to mice in medical research, as mice often fail to reproduce human diseases. The scientists involved in the study produced 9 stem cell lines from cells taken from monkey embryos. They then selected a subset of cells to inject into a genetically distinct embryo from the same species, before implanting the embryos in female monkeys. The results of the experiment were mixed, with 6 live births out of 12 pregnancies. One of the monkeys born was substantially chimera, according to the researchers. Gary Winnick, who won and lost with Global Crossing, dies at 76. New York Times. Gary Winnick, the founder of telecommunications company Global Crossing, died at his estate in Los Angeles on Saturday at the age of 76. Winnick founded Global Crossing in 1997, with the goal of building the world's first privately financed global fiber optic network. The company expanded rapidly but ultimately filed for bankruptcy in 2002, having amassed $12.4 billion in debt. In 2005, the Securities and Exchange Commission investigated Global Crossing's swaps of network capacity with other companies to fill gaps in its fiber optic coverage. The case ended in a settlement, with 3 Global Crossing executives being fined but Winnick escaping without penalty. Podcast, Israel-Hamas conflict bleeds into France, bikers against bullying. RFI. The Israel-Hamas conflict has had an impact on French society and politics, with the left divided on how to denounce Hamas and the far right using the conflict to support Jews. Anti-Semitic attacks in France have been on the rise, but Marine Le Pen, leader of the far-right National Rally Party, has been championing Jews. The government has implemented measures to prevent school bullying in France, with members of U.B.A.K.A playing a role in the fight against bullying. On Armistice Day, France reflects on the story of Eugene Bullard, the first Black American to fly a fighter plane, who flew for France due to racial segregation in the United States. Track's author Robin Davidson bears all an extraordinary memoir. The Sydney Morning Herald. Robin Davidson's memoir, Unfinished Woman, explores the life of the author before and after the suicide of her mother when she was 11. The book delves into the effects of this traumatic event on Davidson's life, including her decision to embark on a solo journey across the Australian desert at the age of 27. The memoir also touches on Davidson's relationships, including her highly publicized romance with Salman Rushdie. Ultimately, the book highlights Davidson's resilience and the development of her own foundation in life. UFC 30th Anniversary, 30 Memorable Moments in the UFC's Long and Colorful History. Yahoo! The UFC is preparing to celebrate its 30th anniversary, and to observe the milestone, Yahoo Sports has compiled a list of 30 of the most memorable moments in the promotion's history. The list includes a mix of high-profile fights and business decisions that have shaped the UFC into the global phenomenon that it is today. Among the top moments are Randy Couture's victory over Tim Sylvia to regain the heavyweight title at UFC 68, the UFC's purchase of its chief rival Pride Fighting Championships, and Junior Dos Santos' knockout of Cain Velasquez in the first UFC fight ever broadcast on network television. Other highlights include the famous brawl that broke out following UFC 229, the legalization of MMA in New York State, and the UFC's purchase by Endeavor for $4 billion. Analysis: Yahoo Sports' list of top moments in UFC history provides an interesting overview of the promotion's evolution and highlights the key moments that have contributed to its success. From legendary fights to pioneering business deals, the list demonstrates the UFC's ability to continuously push boundaries and captivate audiences. It also reflects the promotion's commitment to expanding the sport and promoting its fighters through various platforms and partnerships. As the UFC celebrates its 30th anniversary, it is important to appreciate the significant milestones that have helped shape the promotion into the global juggernaut that it is today. People who make pilgrimages to a World War II Japanese-American incarceration camp and their stories. Associated Press. The Minadoka National Historic Site, a former Japanese-American incarceration camp during World War II, is facing a potential threat from a proposed wind farm nearby. The site is a significant place for survivors, descendants, and allies who annually attend the Minadoka pilgrimage to connect, share stories, and reclaim their own narrative. The pilgrimage is seen as a gentle rejection of the Japanese phrase shikata jie nai, it can't be helped, that was often used to cope with the experience of being incarcerated. The survivors worry that the wind farm will overshadow the history of the site and prevent future generations from understanding the past. The Minadoka pilgrimage is an important event for many Japanese Americans, as it allows them to experience the physical environment of the camp and imagine what life was like for their ancestors. For Lindsay Wasson, an Associated Press photographer, visiting the site helped her understand the experiences of her grandfather, who passed away when she was an infant. She wonders what his time at Minadoka was like and how he coped with the difficult memories. Being at the site and connecting with other survivors helps her imagine and make the experience real. The pilgrimage has also helped other attendees connect with their family's history. Johnny Narita's grandfather, George Nakagawa, was relocated to Minadoka during the war. It wasn't until Narita visited the site for the reconstruction of the camp's baseball diamond that he learned about his grandfather's passion for baseball. The experience changed his perspective on the past and the power of the Minadoka National Historic Site to bring forth the stories of survivors. Overall, the Minadoka pilgrimage is an important event for survivors, descendants, and allies to gather, share stories, and reclaim their own narrative. The potential threat from a wind farm nearby raises concerns that the history of the site will be overshadowed. Preserving the site is seen as vital to remembering the stories of older generations and helping younger Japanese Americans understand and heal from the trauma of incarceration. Tanya Branigan takes home Kundal History Prize for book on China's Cultural Revolution. The Globe and Mail. Tanya Branigan, a journalist for The Guardian, has won the Kundal History Prize for her book Red Memory, Living, Remembering and Forgetting China's Cultural Revolution. The book explores the traumas experienced by those who lived through Chairman Mao's rise to power in mid-20th century China. The Kundal History Prize, worth $75,000, is awarded for nonfiction history writing in English. Two runners-up received $10,000 each. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Six, your trusty observer from the sixth dimension, bringing you the latest news from around the world. Today, we covered a range of topics, from the passing of astronaut Frank Borman to the success of Indian comic book publisher Amar Chitra Katha. We also discussed the creation of a chimeric monkey with two sets of DNA, the life of telecoms entrepreneur Gary Winnick, and the impact of the Israel-Hamas conflict on French society. We explored the memoir of author Robin Davidson, the 30th anniversary of the UFC, and the search for missing Israelis in the aftermath of the Hamas attack. Finally, we touched on the Minidoka pilgrimage and the winner of the Kundal History Prize. Now, let's dive into these stories and take a closer look at what they mean. First up, we celebrated the life of Frank Borman, the astronaut who led the first orbit of the moon. His legacy will forever be remembered, especially through the iconic photograph Earthrise. Moving on, we discovered how Indian comic book publisher Amar Chitra Katha has become a cultural touchstone, selling millions of copies and educating generations about India's history and mythology. With the rise of digital subscriptions, ACK has seen even greater success, expanding its reach worldwide. In a surprising scientific breakthrough, Chinese scientists have created a monkey chimera with 2 sets of DNA. This development has potential applications in the study of neurodegenerative diseases and the conservation of endangered species. Meanwhile, we remembered Gary Winnick, the founder of Global Crossing, who revolutionized the telecommunications industry but ultimately faced bankruptcy. His story is a reminder of the risks and rewards of entrepreneurship. The Israel-Hamas conflict has had a profound impact on French society, with anti-Semitic attacks on the rise. Marine Le Pen's support for Jews has caused a political divide, highlighting the complexities of the situation. On a brighter note, we explored the Minidoka pilgrimage, where survivors, descendants, and allies come together to honor and remember the Japanese-American incarceration camp during World War II. The potential threat of a nearby wind farm raises concerns about preserving the site's history for future generations. In the literary world, Tanya Branigan's book on China's Cultural Revolution, Red Memory, was awarded the prestigious Kundal History Prize. Her work delves into the traumas experienced by those who lived through this tumultuous period in Chinese history. And finally, we celebrated the 30th anniversary of the UFC, reflecting on its most memorable moments. From legendary fights to business deals that shaped the promotion, the UFC has captivated audiences and pushed boundaries throughout its history. That wraps up today's news. Now, my dear viewers, it's time for you to join the conversation. What are your thoughts on these stories? Do you have any questions or insights? Let's hear your perspective from the 6th dimension. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.